I am Michelle Chalfant, psychotherapist, holistic life coach, and human just like you, learning to navigate life's challenges. With over 25 years experience, I teach people how to get healthy using the adult chair model. The adult chair model is where simple psychology meets grounded spirituality, and it teaches us how to become healthy adults. From anxiety and depression to codependency and relationship issues, you can use the adult chair for just about anything. Each week, I share practical tips, tools, and advice from myself and a wide range of experts on how to get unstuck, how to live authentically, and how to truly love yourself, all while sitting in your adult chair. Welcome to the Adult Chair Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Adult Chair Podcast. I am Michelle Chalfant. On the second week of May, I hope those of you that celebrated Mother's Day had a lovely Mother's Day. I sure did. I had my son Graham, who's home from England from grad school. He was just here for 2 weeks. He leaves in 2 days. Yes, there have been tears, and there will be a lot of tears for me in 2 days. And my other son, Blake, he was also here from Tennessee, and he will be leaving me probably in the next couple of weeks, heading off to Washington State. Yes, he's moving. This is why, parents, let me just tell you, we have to be detached, lovingly detached from our children's lives, because let me just tell you, it is so hard. And I want to make my kids stay local to me because I love them so much. But I also know they have these blooming lives and souls inside of them, and they're here to do whatever they're here to do. And I honor that like crazy, and I grieve like crazy when they're gone. But you know what? It's their life. It's their lives. And we have to honor our kids and let them do whatever they're here to do. But it can be really hard, as you guys know. It is hard for me when they leave me. Anyway, you guys, such a great show again today. I'm very, very excited to have on someone special. And I'm going to tell you why in a minute. I have on today Susan Gorey, and she's special to me because she's one of my adult chair certified coaches. She has had quite the journey, probably because I know her personally after spending 6.5 months with her. One of the most mind-blowing transformations using the adult chair. And this is why I invited her on. This is someone that has a beautiful heart, but the beautiful heart was surrounded by, I think she called it shards of glass or something like that. I'll call it barbed wire. Yeah, she was a little prickly and has become someone completely different using the adult chair. And today on the show, she is talking about how she did it, how she went from someone that was more like barbed wire-ish and felt that way to others, not just me. And I always felt her heart. I knew she had a beautiful heart. But she was hard sometimes to be around. And we talk about that. We talk about how she changed. You know, part of the adult chair coaching certification is it's not just about reading the giant manual, because it's a big giant manual. And it's not just about learning material. The adult chair, you guys, is about stepping into your adult. And you do not do that mentally. You have to do it experientially and emotionally. And you look at your stuff. I say to all my coaches, you cannot be a good coach unless you clean your slate, which means you have to look at your own stuff, because we can only take our clients as far as we've gone. So I will always work on myself. I will always look at my triggers. I will always continue to do my own personal work so I can take others as far as I possibly can. And Susan did this with such bravery, I have to tell you. She looked at her own stuff head on and went right into it. And on the other end of it, as I say to everybody on the show, when we look at our stuff that scares us the most, we come out as transformed people. And she did this. It was unbelievable, I have to tell you. Like, And not just I noticed it, but the girls in the coaching program were like, oh my God, she's like a different person. I said, I know. And it's held. That's how I know it's a true transformation. Someone can pretend and be an actress or an actor for a few days or even a few weeks. But Susan, her transformation has lasted for months. She really is a different person. And you're going to hear about her childhood. You're going to hear about as you know, we use this term in the adult chair, her cement suitcases that she was carrying around. We're going to talk about the masks that she was wearing, the programming that was really in the way of her transforming that she had to take a really, really good look at. She talks about some of the unpleasant traits that she acquired from childhood, such as being very critical of people, judgmental, overdoing her search for justice, and really how she was just living from her wounding, like we all do. We all do this. If you're human, you do this. We live from our wounding. And she talks about how she really had no boundaries and was a lot of times really unpleasant to be around, whether it was with her family or friends. We go into it, like we get really raw, and she's very vulnerable, and it's absolutely beautiful. And it's, again, so freaking brave. I admire her so much. Really, really admire her. And she's a phenomenal coach because of it. So we're going to get into that. We're going to go in with Susan's interview in a moment. I just want to share with you first, what Susan did is she faced everything that she didn't want to face, everything that she'd been avoiding most of her life. And you guys, this is exactly why I created our TAC Tribe membership. It is for people that are ready to take a deep dive into themselves. This whole month, we're looking at owning. What do you need to own? Do you need to own? And it's not just the stuff you don't want to own. Like, I don't want to own my shame. I don't want to own the fact that I'm a gossiper, the fact that I'm a judger. It's also owning the good stuff. So it really is about really owning and embracing your whole self. So go check out the membership if you're ready for a deep dive. And let me just tell you up front, it's $39. It is so inexpensive for what you get. A live teaching, a meditation, a live Q&A where you can email in and ask any questions. You get every week self-discovery work. You get mindfulness work. You get an affirmation. You get 2 people I pull every month and I coach them, and you get to watch. There's a Facebook group. It's a ton. I'm going to tell you, you don't have to go look. $39. The price is not going to stay there for much longer, but it is $39 for right now. So if you're interested, check it out, theadultchair.com/membership. Even if you just joined this month, this is a powerful month, all about owning who you are. And if you miss anything and you can't attend, guess what? It's all recorded. Okay, there you go. All right, so we're going to get to Susan's interview. I just want to pause quickly and jump on over to Hair Food. You guys, I honestly love these products. They are amazing. I use all of them. So let's take a listen to Hair Food, and we'll be right back with Susan Gorey. We all know the benefits of eating superfoods. Well, what if we had products for our hair that were loaded with superfoods? Well, guess what? I have found them. Yep, I've been using clean, simple, kitchen-crafted recipes from Hair Food and have seen amazing results. They have a wide range of products, but I started with their shampoos and conditioners, and they are all incredible. They have tea tree and lavender, manuka honey and apricot, coconut milk and chai spice, just to name a few. And yes, they all smell as good as they sound. I've been using these products for only a month, and my hair feels so much better. It feels healthier and softer with far less dry and split ends. And why wouldn't it feel healthier? I am feeding it good, healthy food. These products are also free of sulfates, parabens, and dyes, because let's face it, your hair does not want to eat that stuff. The best part is the price. The products are so affordable. Check them out for yourself at Bed Bath & Beyond, Target, Walmart, or Amazon. Your hair will thank you. All right, just let me tell you a little bit about Susan Gorey before we jump into the show. Susan Gorey is a well-being, relationship, and conflict coach who founded Forward Together Coaching and Mediation to help you or your organization perform optimally during seasons of transition or conflict. a mediator, a CDC, which is a certified divorce coach, a certified adult chair coach, and former employment lawyer. Susan brings a unique perspective and fierce empathy and strength gained from parenting, failed relationships, multiple custody disputes during and after her divorce, and triumphing over her own pain and struggles to coach clients all over the world. Here we go with Susan Gorey. This was an incredible interview. It's raw, it's vulnerable. It's exactly what the adult chair is all about. So here we go with Susan. Welcome, Susan, to the Adult Chair podcast.
Hi, Michelle.
Hello, my love. We've talked about this for a long time, haven't we?
Indeed, we have.
Yes, ma'am. And as you know, and I'm sure my listeners know this, anytime I hear from people that have had a profound transformation with the adult chair, I want to hear about it. And these are the people that I like to bring on the show, because I know that people that listen to the podcast say, how do I do this in my own life? How do I do it? Give me some ideas. So I want to thank you on behalf of just not just myself, but everybody listening that says, hey, how can I do this too? And today is the day you're going to share with us how you transform your life, plugging in that adult chair model. So thank you for being here.
Well, you're welcome. And thank you for having me.
Yeah. And all your vulnerability. It's been beautiful. Mm-hmm. So Susan, you are unique because, or this is a unique situation, I should say, because you're somebody that joined the adult chair coaching certification. Yes. And during this process of going through the certification is when you experience your transformation.
Yes.
Yes.
And what a transformation it was.
Yes, it was. And I have to say, and I don't say this lightly, it was one of probably the greatest and fastest transformations that I've ever seen. I'm not saying that just because I know you. I really am not. And the reason that I know that you transformed, and it's legit transformation, is because it held. You know, people that fake like, oh yeah, I'm much better, I'm not triggered anymore. You know, I work with people like that. And after a few weeks, they're right back to where they were. And what I've noticed about you, it's been months and months. And I'm hearing it not just from, of course, the people that work with me, but the other people in the program have said, wow, Susan's so different. What happened? I'm like, she found her adult chair. What do you know?
I did. Finally, after all these years.
Thank God. So let's talk about what happened. And you said I could talk about anything, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. I want to talk about what it was like in the beginning for you of when you joined the program, and then what happened in the middle of the program, or not even, I don't know when this all started, but it was pretty early, I believe, if I remember. And then how you live your life now and how different it was. So do you want to share with us? I'm trying to think, should I share my perspective or you share yours first? You want to share your perspective? So you joined the program. Let's just start there and we'll see where this goes.
I did. I joined the program, thankfully, in part because you invited me to do so. Mm-hmm. And I had just completed another certification, coaching certification, specializing in divorce. And I was already a mediator. So, and I always had prided myself on, I'm empathetic and I'm strong and, I'm going to be really good, because it was a huge interest of mine, in part because I always wanted to, kind of figure out my childhood and maybe share that and inspire others. Little did I know how I had a complete lack of self-awareness, I guess I would say, as to how I was coming across. And I like to use the analogy of sharp glass.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Yes.
And so then, through a couple of interactions, it kind of became very obvious, and I'll let you kind of take over from there. But it's almost as if it hit me like a brick the one time in the middle of certification. And I was finally like, I have to show up better. I have to be better. I can't do this anymore.
What was the brick? Tell me what happened.
Embarrassingly enough, I was being critical and judgmental. I call it my vomit mouth that I used to have. I'm proud now to say.
Yeah.
And it was just, I woke up one day with this really heaviness on me. And I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And that's when I really dove in and I asked the other coaches for help.
Wow.
And really used all of our time together to really dig in and peel back.
Mm-hmm. So really, it sounds to me like you had an awareness. You just had this epiphany, like, wait, so did someone say something to you? I know you and I had a couple of conversations, but what was it that made you say to yourself, like, was it just an awareness or did something exactly happen in order for you to self-reflect? Because I think what was happening in the beginning is as humans, we typically project on others all of our wounding, and it's never us. We would never blame ourselves. It's not my fault.
Of course.
So what happened?
I think it was really the culmination. I think it was the culmination of some things that were going on in my personal life with regard to some girlfriends and the beginning of the program and all of the emotions and fear really that was driving it at the beginning of the program. And then all of those little interactions, they were like a buildup. Yeah. And it just kind of finally exploded. And then that's what made me become self-aware when I was just the one day and the next, and I went to bed and I woke up with this heaviness that I could not shake. Wow. And that's when I said, and that's when I wrote it. I think it was a Saturday morning and I wrote into the coaches Facebook group, come on,
help me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's so different about, and you've taken other coaching programs, and this is why I love that you had ours in the adult chair and then the other one. The difference I think with this program is, as I've said from day one, we have to clean our slate, meaning we have to do our own work because we can only take people as far as we've gone. So I'm a big believer and pusher for us. Like, keep looking at your stuff, Look at where are you triggered? Where are you making up stories and assumptions? Where are you judging others? Look at that, because that's not living in your adult chair. So if we want to teach others how to do that, we've got to do it. And this program is funny. I just had someone the other day say to me, they direct messaged me on Instagram and they said, I see you are going to be offering another certification program. How is it hard or is it pretty easy?
Yes, it's hard.
I was like, it's freaking hard.
It's very hard, but the reward is amazing because what I was able to do is, like Meg said the other day, I brought light to my shadowy places.
Yes.
I had so many dark areas. I had shadow beliefs. I had concrete suitcases, all this programming or misprogramming, I should say, that I carried with me all of my life, and the shame that I had through everything due to my upbringing. I was using that and carrying that. And then I was living from my wounding and I was projecting, and I was able to face all that.
That's how we transform. And I love that you just said that, because by the way, what you just said is how we all live. We all live from our childhood wounding. We all get covered up. That true self gets covered up by all these masks. We talk about this, the masks and all the personas, we get covered up and we don't know who we are. And then we live from our wounding and we don't know how any other way to live, and we're unconscious. So in the adult chair, we become conscious to who we are and our wounding. And we don't blame our parents, and we don't blame or judge ourselves. We don't blame anybody. We just take responsibility and go, okay, and where do I go from here? And one of the things we do in the workshop is crack the mask of who am I? And I think maybe that's where maybe some of this even started. But let's talk about some of the cement suitcases that you were carrying around. And tell me about that a little bit more.
Well, those really began when I was a child. And again, like you said, this is not about blaming anybody. I mean, It is what it is. My parents did the best they can. Everybody I have 100% forgiven them. but my life was full of conflict. I grew up listening to fighting between my parents, and then that trickled down to, them to me and my sister, and then between my sister and I. And then I listened a lot to my mom be critical and judgmental of others, and including myself. I used to want to hide and run away. And, we were sworn to secrecy. That was a huge cement secret. No one could know family secrets. That was forbidden. And that, it's hard to understand as a child.
Yeah.
And then I carried that messaging from my young exposure into my adolescence. And so going through puberty all alone and not having guidance, my husband likes to say I was like a feral cat, and I was. And I was lonely, and I didn't have really acceptance. I didn't feel like I had acceptance. Certainly didn't have self-love. And so what I would try to do throughout my adolescence, and really, I guess, really through my young adulthood, is I would try to get validation and love and acceptance through other things and other people. So I developed really unhealthy coping mechanisms. So I would delve into school, and I would be a cheerleader and president of the student council and class president and cross country and track and all that stuff. But at the same time, I would also do things that weren't wise, due to a lack of judgment and lack of guidance, which is, doing dares, saying things. I used to proudly say, I say things that
nobody else
no one
says.
else wants to say,
Yeah.
Really, how about some boundaries, and everyone would kind of listen. And I didn't know that was, it had such an effect on me that by the time I was a sophomore, no one really knows this, I actually attempted suicide twice.
Wow.
And it was kept secret. I did not get help. I did not go to the ER. I was made to eat food, so I would get sick. So I didn't have to be seen, or no one would know.
So you're saying your mom hid it. She didn't want anyone to know about that.
Yep.
Because
for years she denied it.
And that would have been shaming for her. Like, she probably was blaming herself for this on some level. So that makes a lot of sense that she would want to hide it. But very damaging for you, the person going through it and not getting validated and help that you needed way back when.
Yeah. And it was, here I was, this teenager, and I had all this emptiness, and now what I know to be shame and loneliness and heaviness. But yet from the outside, no one would have known. It was like, what you and I always say, you're two different people.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
So on the inside, I was someone completely different. On the outside, I was, completely different. And so that kind of pattern of, doing those things, and that those unhealthy coping mechanisms kind of led throughout, all of my life and into young adulthood. So when I was, after a year of going to college in the Northeast, I moved hoping to get a normal life. Yeah. And really, it just followed me.
I was going to say, because if we move, then our insides will change completely. Not
exactly.
I did the same thing. Mind, I get it.
Yeah. In our minds back then, it was one way. I could never run away when I was a kid. The most I could do was the treehouse in the backyard, or hide underneath the stairs when it was so upsetting. But I could use, college and being a young adult to finally run away, but it didn't solve anything.
So I'm hearing, Susan, you witnessed a lot of fighting with your parents. You lived with were both of your parents critical, or just your mom?
My dad was very passive, and it was my mom who was very.
Which, by the way, if dad's passive and not standing up for you with mom, is just as bad as dad joining mom in the criticism. So mom was overly critical, judgmental. And I'm just feeling, as a child growing up in that environment, such rejection and not knowing who you are,
Yeah.
and wearing a ton of masks and armor over the true self, because you're trying to
Yes.
figure out how to get love. That's what all humans do.
Yes.
Let me put this mask on. Maybe I'll get straight A's. Maybe I'll be the perfect athlete. Maybe I'll be beautiful. Maybe I'll do this. Maybe I'll marry the right person. Then I'll be loved. Then I'll get that validation that I'm looking for. But it doesn't happen, as you found out. And you tried, and you got married, and you did all of these things to make the inside feel better, but it didn't work. So how then did that show up in your adult life, as far as you growing up with an inside self feeling rejected, very critical of self, and also judgmental, because that your mother's voice carried through with you into, of course, adulthood, just because it does. And all those programs are set that mom and dad lay within us unconsciously, of course, when we're children. So now here you are an adult, you have children. So what's happening now in your adult life that you're like, what is going on? So what looks different now?
Well,
or excuse me, I want to know how it was different than like childhood. How did it show up for you in adult life?
Well, in adult life, so I got married and I ended up having kids, I knew I wasn't happy. So I went through a divorce. It was a very contentious divorce, multiple custody battles. That was one way. I look back on that now and I'm thinking, oh goodness, that's part of the reason I have such a passion for that area.
Yeah.
And in my friendships with girlfriends and guys, really, it showed up because what I didn't know is really how to be in relationship with others. I always thought I was a great friend and I had a listening ear. Didn't know really how sometimes I could come off, especially in groups.
Yes.
I didn't know my boundaries really with regard to what I did, how I said, how I acted, especially at work.
Yeah.
Yes, I was a go-getter and yes, I loved it. After I graduated law school and working for the EEOC, there were things that I can look back on now, like, oh, it makes me cringe.
Yeah.
Just because I didn't have that lack of guidance and the lack of boundaries that I brought into my workplace.
Right.
I made poor choices with regard to certain things. And I didn't really have much self-awareness and the ever-present lack of self-regulation.
Sure.
Especially with regard to how to conflict.
What did you do with conflict? What was that like in your adult life?
I mean, it just was off the scale.
You would look for conflict, like you would challenge people, or tell me about that.
Well, when I would be in conflict, it was probably, I carried it. I like to say now I can see that I carried the conflict and carried this anger almost inside me, thus the sharp glass analogy. And I didn't know it at the time, but I really think that was more comfortable for me. Having like that, of course, you and Sarah and the coaches, having that stability and, the standing beside and not leaving, not abandoning, that was really uncomfortable for me in the beginning because I had never experienced it. And I can look back now and be like, that the conflict part was just even how I handled it, the lack of self-regulation and not being able to talk confidently and knowing where I was and what I was saying, even though I was this lawyer at this great firm, and then in-house, it was just, again, it was the continuation of these shadows and what I was feeling inside and what I was putting on outside. And, that really developed into this, oh yeah, she's strong and people liked me, as their lawyer, but yet it got to be too much in a lot of ways.
And if I may reflect what our experience was in the beginning of the program, and I knew you a little bit before the program, of course, but so after you joined the program, just for people listening here, that's I like that sharp glass. And it is like, you have a very strong energy. And that's one of the reasons when you were like, I think I want to become a coach, I was like, please because we need your strength. We don't want the sharp glass, right? But you've got power and you have that energy of, I've got you and I'm going to take care of you. But there was the sharp glass in the beginning. And in the very, very beginning, that Zoom call, when we got on, it was like the very first Zoom call ever. And you're like, I'm speaking for everybody and we're upset about this and that and the other thing. And as you're talking, all the direct messages on Zoom are coming into me like, what is she talking about? She's not speaking for me. And I'm like, what is going on? And I could feel the energy of, and I remember when I hung up from that first call and I thought, she's creating chaos, but there's no chaos, but she's creating it because you want to know why I could see it? Because it's how I grew up. And I sat there and I'm like, I remember growing up in my own childhood with a lot of chaos and emotions all over the place. And this one's mad. And that was my norm. And then I marry Graham, who comes from like a flatline household. Like there is no emotion, which by the way, that's not healthy either. But it was such
my husband's the same way.
Like such a sharp contrast to my childhood. And I remember things would happen, but I was unconsciously creating chaos because that felt norm to me. That was my norm. I was creating drama because that's what I lived with my whole. So we do it unconsciously. So this is why we cannot shame ourselves for any of this crap. It's like, it's just childhood stuff.
Well, and here's the other thing too, is that in my view was, I am going to tell the truth. This needs to be the truth. Yes. And that came out of the fact that because all my life I had to keep secrets. No one wanted to tell about the truth.
Yes.
So I'm going to say it like it is.
Yep. Which, by the way, the truth is needed. And that's why I love you. The truth is needed, but without the sharp glass. Right.
Yes,
so I'm like, don't give that up. But I remember after that first call, soon thereafter, we got on a phone call. I was like, I need to talk. I need to have a little chat. I'm calling her into the principal's office.
Yes, exactly. I know.
And we had a chat and I could feel, and I said this to you, I think I got choked up actually, because I could feel the energy. And I said to you something like this. I don't remember my exact words, but I said something like, you're looking for us to reject you.
Yes.
And I'm not going to do that. And I'm not your mother. I remember I said that to you.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that landed or not, because I was seeing right through the whole illusion that you were living in. And I'm like, I've got to get this woman to see her stuff because she's a freaking strong badass and she's going to be an amazing coach, but we've got to get rid of this sharp glass, but I need her to see it. I can't get rid of it for you. And I said to you, I love you. And I'm not going to reject you and I'm not going to abandon you. I'm not going to criticize you, all of those things. And I said, I'm not your mom. I'm not going to do that. And I'm going to stand here and tell you whatever else I said. But I remember feeling that truth. And I was like, she's got to see this. She's got to see this.
And that was a turning point because really for the first time, you didn't abandon me, and that was huge.
And really, it's an experience. Yeah. It's not anything you can read in a book and shift from. Right. And I was so glad I have goosebumps even saying that. Like, and I even get like a little teary eyed because I'm like, I say I'm teary eyed now. I'm not going to abandon you because I see you. Like I see you. I see every single coach and I chose every person for a reason. And I thought, I'm not letting her go. I am not letting her go, but man, we've got to work with her so that she can really see her true self. And you did. So let's talk about that transformation process. Cause it was absolutely, I don't know what happened, but it was like, whoa. So it sounds like it was a lot of little mini events. And then what happened? Like, tell us a little bit about that transformation. You started having awarenesses and.
Yeah. I mean, it's through my talks with you and Sarah and all the other fabulous coaches. It was safe. And what I realized is my wounding, so to speak, my childhood, my sadness, and all of those masks, I didn't have to carry it anymore. No. I don't want to be, trite or keep repeating that, but that was huge. And so I was able to, rid myself of all of those shadow beliefs. Yeah. And, I grew up never being comfortable with myself or my body, never believing I was pretty. So things like that, things that so many other people believe for whatever reason. And it took time and it was a process.
Mm-hmm.
But now I feel just, at peace. And I know that sounds a little trite, but I'm comfortable in my skin. I feel like I don't have to live from any kind of place of anger or wounding. And I'm very self-aware. In fact,
That's key. Yeah.
yes. In fact, when, I have 4 kids now, and sometimes I get overly emotionally involved and get out of my adult and into my adolescent.
Yep.
And I've been talking this language now, which I love to talk to my kids and my husband, which I like to say, hey, you're not in your adult, honey.
Yeah.
But with the kids and, like my oldest daughter, she'll look at me and be like, and I'll be like, okay, I know I'm not in my adult chair and I know I'm straight on in my adolescent. So I'm going to go over here now and I'm going to go back. That's what I do. And my younger ones are like, okay.
I love that though. That's what it's all about. Now you have a language that you can use.
Yes. Absolutely.
And you understand where you are. Wait a minute. I'm not in my adult. Let me come over here. Let me get myself organized and then I'll be right back. So the word that I hear is awareness. Yes. And the other thing I hear is that you're taking responsibility for your actions and for yourself. And you're really striving to keep living in that adult. Yes.
Indeed. Yes.
And I want people to hear it's a journey. This is not something that happens overnight.
It's a process.
It really is a process. But what we noticed on our end as a company, your emails started coming in. You said, oh my God, I've had these awarenesses. I'm so sorry that I spoke with you all this way. And I was like, what's going on? And I can't tell you how many emails I read of yours that were like tears pouring down my face. I'm like, because I was so happy that you were seen through your own illusion and you had touched your true self. Like, I was like, there it is. Like, she's gotten it.
Well, probably one of the biggest things is the self-awareness of how those dark places, I was living from them. And I always used to say, I'm never going to become my mother. Yeah. Well, sure enough.
And you admitted it. Okay, this is what I want people to hear. Yes. This is big, Susan.
I know. That was one of the emails to you.
Yes. You went into the darkness.
Yeah.
Not to be scary, but it's our shadow self. It's the part that's a part of us in the unconscious mind that holds all of our beliefs that we hate and we shame about ourselves. And in order to truly heal and transform, you have to go there and you have to experience those things. And look what happens. This is why I was so excited to have you on. I'm like, but look at what happens on the other side of it.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, I've always identified with, I love kids. I would have 10 of them. So I love being pregnant and babies and toddlers and all that. But I love me a teenager because they're just like, the world is there. Yeah. But in addition to seeing, because most of my adult life I lived, with this emptiness inside me. And so teenagers and really adults too, when they do things, and unfortunately nowadays it's caught on video and people get their cell phones out, but they make poor choices or they do things to get validity or to get attention, or like Tiger Woods, for example. Yes. He lived life for someone else, and I identify with that. When I watched his story on HBO, I cried because I'm like, I know what you were feeling. I knew what he was feeling. The promiscuity, the mask, the being someone else when you're not. That was me. Yeah. And I feel that. And it makes me want to scream from the top of the mountains, like, I can help you.
Yeah. What I'm hearing is you're saying, pay attention to what's around you. I think we get shown signs of who we are all the time. the world is mirroring it back. And we really need to pay attention to all of our relationships. Like, what is being mirrored back to us? Now, it could be a projection, right, of someone else. But if you see a pattern, in other words, if your friends keep dropping you over and over and over and over again, it's like, well, wait a minute, what's going on inside of me that's happening? Or if someone keeps breaking up with you, we have to look inside of ourselves. People want to go through a spiritual bypass. They just want to bypass all the pain, all the suffering. They just want to go right by it. And we cannot do that. And I'm hearing you say, that was me, but I'm going to own it and I'm going to go right through it. Tell me how your relationships have changed for you since this transformation. And it sounds I feel kind of funny saying transformation, but it really is something I want to mirror. Even talking to you right now, the edge is gone. The sharp glass is gone.
Yeah, that makes me
gone. But yet you're still strong.
Oh, thank you.
I'm still
sorry,
feel that
I'm getting
power.
choked up.
I know. I'm like, the tears are right here because it makes me elated to have someone go through this. But you're still a badass, but a badass that's approachable.
Yeah.
That's not going to go into attack mode. That's not going to put people down. The sharp edges are gone. So tell me about relationships with others. What do you notice that's different now, just in the last few months since you've had this transformation?
I asked my kids, and Cameron actually said that I was more patient and understanding. Oh. And, part of me makes me thrilled, but part of me makes me a little sad because I'm like, oh goodness, I could have done better. Oh, did I live? But at least I can do that now. I can be more patient.
Exactly.
I can be more understanding and
it's
empathetic.
Not too late. People ask me this all the time. Did I ruin my kids? No, show up right now. I don't care if they're 18 years old and they're still under your roof. Do it now. I don't care if they've moved out. Do it now because they still have the experience of you. So what else?
And I think with girlfriends, I'm certainly less reactive for sure. And instead of being the snap reactive like I used to be, I just kind of respond and I accept people and all of their, for lack of a better word, their blessings of who they are. I have lots of good friends that have different little quirks about them, but I take the really good parts and, I don't react to the other parts. And same with my husband now. I mean, we've been married for 15 years and it's certainly has changed our family dynamic. And I think that he wrote to you and I think Grace wrote to you. And I'll be interested to see what they have to say because I think that the whole family dynamic might have gone from, I don't want to say hyper, but more calm, peace, open.
Yeah. I have a surprise for you in a moment about them, but have your friends said anything to you? Are you getting a mirror or reflection back? Like, you seem different. Do you hear people saying that to you at all?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I do. And it just brings a smile to my face because I always wanted to be that friend. I always wanted to be that good friend that people would come to, but then sometimes they wouldn't. Now they do. It's kind of like what you said, when you have that energy, you attract it in.
Yep. It's an energy, 100%. So I have a little surprise for you. We have emails from your older. So Grace is what, 18?
She just turned 19. Yes.
19. Okay. So we have a little email from your daughter and from your husband. And I know you've not seen these. And so what they shared with us was how you are different. How you are different since applying the adult chair into your life. So this is the feedback from your daughter, Grace. She says, you have much more empathy for her. You're letting her grow up and do things on her own. And I know you before the adult chair certification. There was some control there, honey. And I say that with love, overly controlling. And Grace is now saying you're letting her grow up and do things on her own. You're staying out of her business when necessary. You've become open-minded and willing to hear her side of the story before unleashing all anger. She says you've built up your family's quality time.
Oh.
Love your job. You're happier all around. Helps your friends in sticky situations and is a good secret keeper for them as well. Brings everyone together and pushes her to be a better person. How's that? So that's from your daughter, Grace. Now here is from your husband. He says, you're much more self-aware. Incoming and outgoing filters have been adjusted to be more thoughtful and sensitive. Structured norms set incredible points of reference. Example, adult cheer. These help with confident judgment, empathy, and sympathy. Less knee-jerk responses resulting in regret. Calmer and more secure. Past triggers not causing negative responses. Deeper interest in others. Consistent, less reactionary, less likely to escalate. Thoughtful reaction to confrontation or unexpected response from family members or out of bounds statements. Interactions are far more positive and construction. I think the family membership is less stressful overall. And he says, many more positives. I'm very proud of your search for answers. The quest is courageous, and reflection and change outright is a character trait most could only dream of achieving. That's pretty powerful.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Let that land, babe. You have created a tidal wave through your house simply because you changed. No one else changed. But here's what's cool. As I've always said, you change, they change.
Yeah.
And all you did was look inside yourself. I don't mean to make it sound easy because it wasn't at all.
No.
But you had to look inside and you had to find out who you really were and not with masks on. You had to crack your masks, go underneath and find your true self. Because that woman is who I just read about. That's your true self.
Yeah, that's.
And I, if I can share a few more things.
Sure.
Let them land. Part of the certification program, of course, is working with some of the other coaches in the program and doing sessions with each other. And some of, and we match you up with different people. And we heard from some people in the beginning that reached out to us and said, I don't want to work with Susan. I do not want to work with Susan. And I said to them, after you transformed, I said, please work with her now. She's a different person. And they said, no way can someone change. And I said, she is so in her adult now. She has truly transformed herself. Please work with her. Every single person came back to me and said, oh my gosh, she does not even feel like there's no way she's the same person. She's so much more approachable. I liked our sessions so much. She's a phenomenal coach. Oh. And here's the big takeaway, Susan. And I felt safe with her.
Oh.
What a beautiful reflection. So yeah, just incredible. So thank you. Thank you for everything that you've done.
Yeah.
Well, this is great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. You. And your vulnerability is amazing.
Well, I just want to say again, thank you so much for not leaving me and being beside me. And that's to you and your staff and all the other great coaches who are like my sisters. I couldn't have done it without you guys. It makes me really emotional. I'm sorry.
I know.
But yeah.
We love you, girl. We really do. We really do. Thank you. Thank you for everything. And so if someone would like to find you and learn more about you and have a session or whatever else you're doing, where can they find you?
They can find me at forwardtogethercoaching.com or they can Google Forward Together Coaching and Mediation.
Perfect. So tell us.
And if anyone knows Tiger Woods, send him my way because we can transform him too. If I can do it, he can do it.
Absolutely. Yes. So what kind of coaching do you do?
I actually use the adult chair as the base for everything just because it's so powerful. So I'm also a mediator in Tennessee, and I use that in my mediations by teaching. Those are quick tools that we have. And I'm also a certified divorce coach. And so whether people are going through a divorce or thinking about one or really co-parents, I use the adult chair through that. And then for other, well-being, life coaching, whether it's relationships or conflict, I really believe that we can do life differently. We can do conflict differently. We can divorce differently and parent differently.
Absolutely.
And, show up different. And I use the adult chair in all of that. So whether it's a transition, whether, because really I sit here now that I've kind of gone through it and I look, and life is really a series of transition. And sometimes that transition can bring out conflict, whether you're getting married or whether you're engaged or thinking about divorce or having a child, or your child is leaving for college, or the teenage years, where kids, kind of don't know where to go. All that is a transition. And I use, not only my professional experience, but, everything that I learned through, my story and my triumph over that and the adult chair to, help people and teenagers and couples and individuals, family systems, to live in their adult.
Love it. Love it. All right, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed that show. I loved this show. And don't forget, I will put all of Susan's info in the show notes, and also jump into the adult chair membership this month. It's all about owning. It's all about going deeper into yourself, looking at your own stuff that's in the way of becoming your healthiest self, which of course is living in your adult chair. I thank you guys so much for joining me today. And do not forget, if you love the show, share the show. I really, really appreciate you guys. I love you all so much. I will see you next week, seated right here in the adult chair.